The festive season is always a little merrier when there's a new Christmas horror movie on the big screen. Silent Night Deadly Night is a reboot of an 80s slasher. There's still a killer dressed as Santa Claus, but it's not a one-to-one remake by any means. Let's see if it's what we wanted for Christmas. Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Happy to be here. Shut up.
This is a horror movie podcast. Today we are talking about Silent Night Deadly Night, the new reboot, which is now in theaters. At the time of recording, we both went to see it. We'll start spoiler free, of course, as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into the spoilers. And if you're enjoying the show on the YouTubes, please do hit the like button. It helps us out a bunch if you do. You give us 5 stars on your podcast app. And if you want to support the show, you can do that via Patreon or YouTube membership and get some bonuses. But I'll tell you about that at the end of the episode. So yeah, so reboot of Silent Night Deadly Night from 1984. We have done previously all of the entries, more or less. I think there's kind of like a semi-entry in like 2010 that we didn't do, but we did the first 2 proper Silent Night Deadly Nights, and then there's 3, 4, and 5, which are kind of the weird stepchildren of the franchise, and we've done all those, so we're well prepared coming into this to discuss the new Silent Night Deadly Night. So I mean, I don't know, how hopeful were you getting into this, Timmy?
Not at all. I really didn't know anything going in. I'm not even sure if I had seen like a trailer. Like, I might have seen those like 10-second, online ads or whatever. But yeah, I gotta tell you, I wasn't looking forward to watching something from the guy that did the, Friday the 13th Sweet Revenge Apple Orchard beer.
Oh, was that him? I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was that guy. That's funny. So I did not have that weight on me as I went in to see this. I went in fairly kind of open, because I haven't seen his Wrong Turn movie. We'll do the Wrong Turn franchise at some point. I haven't seen The Domestics, which is the other movie he did. So
I don't think I've even heard of that one.
Yeah, went in completely kind of just, blank slate to this one, just hoping for the best on my end. So I had no preconceived notions, but it sounded like you went in almost kind of like wanting to be proven wrong with the sounds of it.
Like, I wouldn't say that I was, like, all right, here we go, this is going to be a train wreck, but I was basically going in not expecting much. Like, I kind of assumed, like, all right, this will probably be not great, but I don't know, maybe it'll be kind of cheesy, fun, like, hopefully, fingers crossed,
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously we'll talk about this properly a little bit soon and then a lot in the spoilers, but I also didn't know going in if it was going to be like a beat for beat remake or if it was going to be just broadly kind of taking the idea and doing something with it. And I think what's actually interesting about it is for like 5 minutes, I thought it was going to be a beat for beat remake. And then it very suddenly was like, no, we're not doing that. We're doing our own thing with this movie. So we'll talk about that a bit more in detail later. But yeah, so it does have its own spin on what Silent Night Deadly Night is. It's not just following the beats of the original movie, even though it does homage a few things here or there. So we'll get into everything, of course, in due time. But I guess it's just time to ask the question, and that is, Tim, what did you think of 2025's Silent Night Deadly Night?
So, well, actually, first, just a quick theater story. I don't know if this happened to you, but I saw a ton of trailers, as normally happens now. With the theater going experience, you just kind of go in knowing there's going to be about 20 to 30 minutes of like trailers and commercials. So I actually saw a lot of like horror stuff. Some I hadn't seen before that like looked interesting. I was like, oh, there's the Bone Temple trailer, and oh, here's this one like Night Patrol I never heard of, and then I saw the trailer for Silent Hill, which I'd already watched before, but I was all right, there's that trailer again, and then that there's another 1 or 2 trailers, and then like a commercial, and you're starting to get antsy, and you're like, all right, the movie has to be starting soon, right? So then I think it goes into whatever like the little pre-spiel thing before the movie starts, and then I'm like, all right, so this has to be the movie now. And then all of a sudden the Silent Hill trailer starts playing again, I was like, "Oh, come on, you got to be kidding me!" And then I got really nervous that like, all right, are we just like in like a weird loop? Is it just gonna keep playing like trailers over and over again? But luckily that was not the case. It just you know did that one twice, but that made me laugh.
Right. When you said, I don't know if this happened to you, did you mean, were you thinking this might have happened to me the exact same movie, the same trailer glitch, where I got the same trailer twice?
Well, possibly, because I spoke to a friend who it happened to him as well, which I think we went to the same theater chain, so maybe they just have like, you know, a trailer package or something they played.
Well,
yeah, I assume, but
no, it did not happen to me today with Silent Night Deadly Night. It has happened to me before, where I've had the same trailer twice. Clearly, the randomizer has like farted out the wrong thing, but whatever. I'm so glad we spent 2 minutes on this little side story. But go on.
I just thought it was an interesting anecdote. People love the tales of the theater. That's what they really come for. Also, this not playing at the theater that's close to me, so I did have to drive a little bit further out. Also, not a lot of showtime, so I did have to go kind of late. So I, not gonna lie, I was getting pretty sleepy towards the end. Not the movie's fault, but just circumstances. But all right, so everyone's on pins and needles now, wondering how I felt about the movie.
Oh, they're falling asleep, one or the other, but go on.
Yeah, so I guess long story short, I surprisingly, I actually did like this. I ended up digging it. It's kind of funny how you're mentioning, like, when you first start watching, you're wondering if it's a, you know, beat for beat remake, and I had the same feeling. So I actually wasn't like super into the opening. Like, it's not bad, but like you're saying, I was like, okay, so are we pretty much just doing the same thing, just, you know, maybe a little less interesting? Because like the opening, it's not bad, but it's like, yeah, it didn't have like the same kind of sleazy, grimy weirdness that I feel like the original had. So I was just kind of like, all right, so is this what the movie's gonna be? But then, like you said, once, you know, we kind of get past that just little opening bit, where it kind of pretty much thrust into, you know, the movie, and, you know, we're starting to get hints of like, I guess kind of the new direction they're taking it. And when that kind of started, I was like, okay, I'm a little bit more interested, but I was still like, I'm not sure where I land. But I think gradually as the movie went on, I just kind of like started feeling it more and more, until like, you know, by the end I was like, okay, yeah, I was pretty invested in the movie. I liked that it was doing something different. I didn't really need, you know, some of like the Easter eggs and stuff. And I mean, I guess I don't mind that it's a reboot, like, but honestly, like, this probably could have been its own thing. Like, there, you know, like, it didn't have to be a Silent Night, Deadly Night.
They wanted to use the title. It's basically all I could think.
Yeah, I get it, but yeah, I guess I would say, like, I didn't go out of the theater going like, oh my god, this is amazing, like, I gotta tell everyone. But I kind of left going like, you know, I'm pleasantly surprised, like, that, you know, wasn't a train wreck, and it wasn't just like kind of a moderate, like, oh, playing it safe remake or whatever. I was like, oh, they actually did something new and interesting, and for the most part I had fun. So yeah, as this is a nice little surprise, I guess, towards the end of the year.
Oh yes, and if anyone stayed after the several minutes of watching trailer stories, they finally got to hear some positivity in this show. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it, actually. I think that I would agree that I wouldn't like go raving about it and say it's one of the best horror movies of, you know, the last few years or anything like that. But like, it was a solid time. I think that as soon as it revealed its like new hand, as soon as it cut to, because, you know, it starts off with like a little prologue flashback type scene, and that's very much not the exact same as the original movie, but it's definitely mostly pulling from the original movie. And then as soon as it goes to the present day, though, I'm like, oh, this is already different. We've already changed this, this, and this, and then we're doing this now. And then it's like, okay, and it sort of like follows the movie more from the perspective. I mean, technically the original followed the movie from the killer's perspective as well, to an extent, but here it literally in a lot of ways gets inside his head, and it does a lot of more different things with it. So I don't want to spoil too much about like what it's changed here, but I will say that it's, you know, I think that this movie knows that it's a schlocky, kind of cheesy horror movie, and it's okay having fun with that. I think there's one bit right in the middle of the movie where, like, I was sort of starting to really dig kind of like the story of the movie and like kind of how the main characters like sort of engaging with the characters around them. I was kind of already into that, but there's a moment in the middle, a big set piece, which I'm sure you'll probably know which one I'm talking about, where when they revealed what the set piece was going to be, I basically said to myself, "F yeah, I'm into this. Let's do this."
Yeah, the only thing that's annoying about that, which I mean, I agree that that set piece is very fun, but it annoyed me like because that day or the day before, I started seeing all these articles pop up saying like, check out this viral scene from the new Silent Night Deadly movie, and they
yeah, but that's not on the movie though. That's not on the movie.
yeah, that's not the movie's fault, but it just annoys me that that's just the culture we live in.
That's the internet you're
yeah.
complaining about there. That's that's a different thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's still a super fun scene, but it was just like one of those things where watching it instead of like you were saying, like like you're watching it and then going like, oh, I'm seeing. I start to see what they're doing. Like this is gonna be fun. Instead, I was like going and going like, oh, okay, this must be that scene they were talking about. But it still lives up to it.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this scene. I didn't know what it was building up to. So there's a legitimate reveal of like what's going on in that moment, and that moment landed quite hard for me. It's probably my favorite moment of the whole movie, where I realized, oh, that's what this is, because then you realize where it's going to go. That worked for me completely. And so it's a shame that maybe you had that spoiled for you.
And it was one of those things where like it's not like I watched the clip or read the article. It was just like in the headline it said like this character does this. So I basically knew it was coming, and the scene still hits hard. Like I still liked it. Like it's not like I was like, oh, boo-hoo or whatever. It's just I had a lot of fun with it, but it's like it would have had that extra pop if I didn't realize going in like, oh, this is that.
Yeah, I think it's not taking itself too seriously. It knows it has to be a little darkly funny with the premise that it has, and it's kind of just having fun with it. I was, and I think I was into the story, especially since, like, by the time you really get into the story, it's so different from the original, even though it kind of lends itself to sort of still doing a couple of similar scenes here or there. It's like, no, this is a very different thing we're doing here. It's not following the same type of thing. I mean, I don't even think it's a spoiler to say this part is that, when we go to him as an adult, like, he's already actively killing people. This is not like about the build up to him killing someone for the first time, which is what a lot of the first half of the original movie is like this idea of like, oh, it's all pent up and he's almost about to do it and he's building his building. This one's not like that. This one is like, oh no, he's already active as this, and then we explore kind of what that is and why he's been doing it and so on.
Like so much of the first one is the world actively trying to like get this man to like break and become Santa, where it would like that's such a funny aspect of the original, where it's like, yeah, why is he like thrust into all these situations like of being like around Santa and stuff? But I think that it's totally fair though for them to like just start where they start, just because of like what they end up doing with the character and stuff. Like it makes sense that like we're just kind of like thrust right into it.
I don't want to spoil it here, obviously, but like the reason or the sort of the extra big thing they've added is very pulpy. It's very kind of cheesy in a lot of ways, but it's fun, and I enjoyed kind of that element of it. Even when because it's basically something where for a lot of the movie I was thinking, well, how is this like a real thing, or is it just something that he thinks is going on? And then. But the movie, like, when it does eventually play its hand, it's just kind of like, oh, it's not even holding back. It's just having fun with what it's doing. Let's just roll with it. It's fine.
Yeah, like that's why I kind of say, like, the movie gradually won me over, because I was a little unsure of that stuff going in. But, yeah, like, I kind of, was rolling with it. And it gets to a point where it's like, okay, you know what? I'm actually digging this. Like, this is really fun. I like this dynamic.
It's different, right? It's because it's more like it's not the exact same thing, but it's closer to like a Maniac type movie where you're following the killer and like why he's picking his victims and that kind of thing.
It's funny. It reminds me so much of one other movie, which I really want to say, but it might be like a little spoilery. But it did like really make me laugh when I realized like, okay, that's what we're doing. All right.
I think I know what movie you're going to compare it to, and I think it's mainly just because of the way something sounds that you probably thought of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, well, so I don't think we'll do too much of a spoiler-free section, just purely because I feel like all the stuff we want to talk about is all very spoilery, and I would go into this fairly cold, is what I would say. I guess the only, little critique, I guess I would say, and because I was enjoying the plot so much, it didn't really matter that because I was enjoying the story. But I will say the kills themselves are fine for the most part. I think there's like one particularly, or two, maybe two good ones. I think a lot of them maybe are a bit more like, cut away after a quick second or something. So it's not as like, lavish and, it's not doing Terrifier. It's not letting you really soak in the details. There is one or two fun ones, but for the most part, it's more the situations and the plot and the story that you're enjoying, I would say, with this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of what's enjoyable about it is the characters. I forget the actor's name, but it's the guy from Halloween Ends, which
yes.
I
like to think that movie didn't end the way it did, and this is just him moving to another town, and he's dressed as Santa now. He gave up the Michael Myers mask, and he's like, you know what, Santa.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, we'll get to it into spoiler talk, but it is so funny, like comparing those two movies, because like, okay, like there's kind of like some interesting similarities between
some parallels for sure.
Yeah. But no, I thought he was really good. I like the again, apologies, I don't know the actress's name, but the female lead I thought was like pretty good.
Yeah, Pamela, who I don't know, I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head, but do you recognize her from anything, Tim? Because you have seen her in something before.
Oh, she did look a bit familiar, but I couldn't place it on the top of my head.
She was the roommate character in Happy Death Day.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
That's funny. Yeah. Cause she did have like a very like distinctive look, and like I can like picture her like at the end of that movie.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting that like two of our leads are like from other horror movies from the past like few years. That's kind of always a fun little sort of heritage thing.
Yeah, and obviously Halloween Ends is a bigger, like, meteor role for this guy, but he was also in The Monkey from this year too, so it's a second.
Oh, so he was,
movie he pops up in, yeah. I think
was he the main guy?
Forgettable. No, he was like he kind of comes in like halfway through the movie. Remember, he's like that like guy with like long hair that like. Gave the monkey to him and wanted it back. It was honestly, I did like the monkey, but that was kind of a forgettable like role in it.
Yeah,
not that I thought he did a bad job, but the character wasn't really needed for the story.
Bizarrely, I think the thing I remember the most about this character is saying, "Oh, this is the guy from Halloween Ends, and he's in the Silent Night, Deadly Night reboot that's coming out soon." I think I remember saying that at some point in that review. So okay, that's interesting. Like I said, the director of this, he's been kind of on that weird kind of like, like I say, Wrong Turn reboot, a movie called The Domestics, and he did that Sweet Revenge short. Now, we didn't like the Sweet Revenge short, so I don't want him to do a Friday the 13th movie. I think he's bad for that. But honestly, I had no problem with this, in terms of direction for the most part.
I guess if we have to be fair, I'm assuming that Friday the 13th thing came with a lot of baggage. Like, they probably had a lot of notes from the beer company.
Apples. We want apples in this scene, thank you.
And, like, he's only getting to work with, like what, 12, 13 minutes or whatever. So, yeah, really the only reason why we, like, covered it and made a big deal about it is because, like, they were trying to make a big deal about it. Like, whoever owns the Friday the 13th IP now is like so weirdly into these like integrated marketing shit, and like so that had to be like a big thing that they were talking about. Like, yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing. The fact that that's the only Friday the 13th like movie, quote unquote, that we've had in like the last 15 years, give or take, is pretty sad. But hey.
So I think they said they are actively working on the next movie, and then of course next year we'll get Crystal Lake, which I'm sure we'll do at least a bonus episode, at least on the pilot or something. But
I can't wait.
I mean, I do like Linda Cardellini.
I do as well, but I just like I don't want a prequel story about Jason's mom. It's just just milking it for every piece of content you can. Except,
Yeah.
just doing more Friday the 13th movies, the most obvious thing you could do. Anyway,
Well, I mean, sorry, tangenting, but like the funny thing is, I wasn't looking forward to it at first, but I have been having a lot of fun with the It prequel TV show, which is just like so dumb and bonkers that it's actually pretty entertaining. So, I mean, fingers crossed if they do something similar, like if it's just ends up being like super dumb and trashy, like maybe at least be something that I'll look forward to surprising me and whatever. Um, but I mean, that's wishful thinking. Like it could also be
it's not the same
boring...
people or even the same
Yeah.
like network or anything, so there's no reason to
right.
assume it'll be anything similar to that. So
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily tend. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Anyway, back to Silent Night, Deadly Night, and I would say that we're probably ready to jump into spoilers because I don't think there's too much more we can really talk about, because I feel like we should give the warning properly before we mention what's going on here. Like I said, there was a few key scenes in the first half that was kind of won me over, where I'm like, okay, I'm into this, and I'm kind of into this element as well now. And then it kind of kept building on that. So I had a good time. I had a good time with it. We'll say spoilers for the new Silent Night, Deadly Night. You have been warned. All right, we're going to get into it. All right, so the big thing here, which, I mean, we'll go back and talk about the intro in a bit, but like once we get to present day, and it's like December 20th, I think, when we go to the adult part of the timeline, and he wakes up. He's already a killer. He's already killed someone. He's got a Santa suit. So that's already his shtick. He already puts on a Santa outfit. he kills people. He likes his axe that he carries around with him. He's just going from town to town. We kind of get introduced to all this, and he just has like a narrow little escape when the cops almost like come to check the motel room that he's in with a dead body, and he climbs up over the roof, and it's a nice little shot where the cop comes in the foreground just as he goes over the top of the building, so he just misses him. A little bit of suspense. But the main thing that's introduced here is a voice. There's a voice in his head who he calls Charlie. And it's this, and I think the thing you wanted to compare it to, probably because of the sound of the voice, is Venom, because it's very Venom-esque.
Like, it took me a couple of minutes, but like, because I wasn't sure at first, like, if like there was like someone there you couldn't see, or if his like maybe he had like an object in his bag, like the axe talked to him or something. But then I just realized like, oh well, they're basically just doing like Venom, like, and to the point where like, because I mean the voice sounds like similar, but then also it's just the fact that they're doing the comedic thing where the voice will start like interrupting him when he's talking to someone, and then he'll do like the little like, stop it, or I know, like, what are you talking about? And then like the other character's like, huh? And I'm like, oh, nothing. Like, just like that whole like kind of comedic dynamic. I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, it doesn't lean on it as much as Venom does, but there's definitely a little bit of it sprinkled, especially early on, I think. Well, because the thing is that up front you're like, okay, he's crazy, he's got a voice in his head, no big deal, that's just a little thing they're doing with this version. But as the movie goes on, I guess the thing that's interesting about it is that it's like the voice like can tell things. Like the voice will say, hey, look over there, and then they'll look and there'll be something there, or someone of interest or something. In fact, one of my favorite little mechanics of this that's built up as the movie goes on is you realize that this voice is maybe some kind of real entity or a superpower that he has, whatever you want to call it. Is that this idea that it recognizes when someone has been bad, right? And we'll get into the whole why that matters in a minute, but there's a whole thing where there's this ex-boyfriend of Pam's, this cop named Max, and like he keeps kind of being around but never meeting our main character Billy. And there's a moment where he's like, hey Billy, look over there, but by the time he looks over, he's gone. And it's this idea that he keeps missing this like evil presence that's nearby. I was actually kind of digging that, like this tease of like, oh, Charlie can sense that there's someone really bad around, but we don't know why he's bad yet, other than, I mean, we find out one bad thing he's done at one point, but like we still don't know why he's like evil yet. It's like we're kind of building up to it.
I kind of ended up calling it because they're also foreshadowing all these. But I mean, it's not played as like,
it's not a surprise,
super, But I think they do a good job of like leading up to it, because like you said, there's all these incidents where they almost like lock eyes, but then they just miss, and then it kind of works like in that, video game kind of way where it's like, okay, we're leading up to like kind of the final boss or whatever, that by the time you get towards the end and there's like a showdown.
That's a good way of putting it. It's seeding him for later is the big bad, is the thing that we're going to build up to. But of course, if you're listening to this and you've not seen the movie and you just want to hear us talk about the spoilers, you're probably saying, what are we talking about? A big bad? What are we talking about looking for evil people? Well, dear listeners, here's the big change in this, aside from the voice itself, is that Billy, and to be fair, they play this a little bit sort of vague at first, right? Because at least the first guy that he kills on camera, we don't see any evidence that he's bad, right? It's not until later it reveals that he's murdered his wife years prior. But the big thing here is that Billy only kills bad people, right? So basically what they've done with the premise of this movie, you know in the original Silent Night Deadly Night where he yells punish and naughty before he kills people? Yeah. Here, he's literally only killing people who have been naughty and need punished in like a more like serious way.
It's like instead of like a spidey sense, he has like a naughty sense.
Yes.
No, this leads to like a lot of like really fun stuff, and I like again, they do a good job of like seeding stuff, and it makes it like they don't just like regurgitate everything for you in like the first 5 minutes. Like you learn stuff as it goes on, and it's like a nice reveal once you start understanding like the actual mechanics and the whys and everything, and then I like the reveal of like, once you realize that he only kills like naughty people, it's like, oh wait, so does that mean his parents from the beginning were? And then like I thought that was like a nice little reveal.
Well, yeah, that's the thing though, is that obviously he doesn't kill his parents, but like just like the original movie, a Santa, and it's a very kind of similar scene in a car where the Santa like shoots the dad and then comes after the mum, although they took out the sexual element, which does make sense here because it turns out that this previous Santa killer, much like Billy, had a voice in his head telling him who is bad. And it turned out, we find this out later in the movie, that the reason why the grandpa dies in the opening scene and Billy witnesses it is because the parents poisoned him after making him sign over like as like all the inheritance and stuff. It's like, okay, the parents did something bad, and basically because the Santa killer, who was the janitor at the old folks home, which was very obvious the way like they filmed it, but he transfers whatever this thing is that's inside him, this voice, to him. So it's actually this janitor's voice that's Charlie speaking in his head. So seemingly it always takes the voice of whoever the previous host was. So that's kind of like, so we see this super like, the kid takes his hand and there's a whole like bit of magic transfer thing, and I'm like, and that's the sort of thing where by the time we got to that point, because this is like a super late like visual we get in the movie, but by the time we got to there, I was like, oh, this movie's just doing pulpy fun shit. It's not even like concerned about trying to be, serious or gritty. It's just trying to have fun with its premise and do the thing. And I'm like, don't hold back, go for it.
Yeah, no, I think all these changes are really fun, and it's like a nice new gimmick, and it did, like, again, I wasn't really feeling that opening scene as much in the beginning, but
the flashback, the old folks home and stuff.
Yeah, like because again, like in the beginning, without the context, you're just like, oh, okay, we're just kind of doing same thing, but but it ends up kind of working later on with that reveal when it's like, okay, actually, like, they are doing something different. Like that's pretty neat. I don't know if I missed something, but so I understand that whatever this like entity or thing that's in them needs to punish people, and I think they say they only punish people during December.
Yes.
The only thing I wasn't sure of is the whole like advent calendar part of it, because I guess after they kill people, then he has this like calendar that he puts like a little, like, was it like a bloody thumbprint or something onto it?
Well, it's not even their print. It's just he just gets a bit of blood in his finger and presses it into the advent calendar. So that's set up right at the start, because he does that with the body that's already dead at the start. So he seemingly does this once per day in December up until Christmas. So I mean, I don't know if the advent calendar is that important. They don't overly explain it. There is a reveal later on though where Charlie says, what will happen if we don't kill someone today? Someone else will die who doesn't deserve it, so we have to kill someone who does deserve it.
I understand all that. I just, yeah, I wasn't sure if I missed if there was a bigger importance or something for the advent calendar. Like, I mean, maybe it's just kind of like, after you watch a movie and it's like, all right, I gotta log this on Letterboxd. Like maybe it's just like, doing that just to make sure it's there.
Yeah, maybe he's just keeping track more than anything else. I don't know if like it never goes into any more detail with the advent calendar. I think maybe you could critique that maybe this is just to make him look more crazy in the early goings on, so that you're not because obviously it slowly reveals that he's only killing bad people throughout the movie. So it wants you to think he's just a psychopath up front, which it's not like he's not a psychopath. He's still kind of a psychopath, right. But he's a psychopath with a moral code, if you will. So I guess the other thing is that aside from talking to the voice, he also says that when he puts on the Santa outfit, it's like he like sort of gets into a trance where he's now just the killer. He's now just like Killer Billy. So that's something that comes up later as well. But he's hiding out in a small town, right? So this is where we sort of get into the actual story of the movie, which is he's in the small town. And he sees this woman named Pamela, in the diner, and he asks about her, and she's working at this small store, and he tries to have an interaction with her, and the voice is saying, hey, are we trying this again? It really sets up this idea between him looking at her and looking at another couple in the bus that he's been lonely, right? He's not really had a chance to like be with anyone because he's too busy on this, every December killing spree that he goes through. So it does this thing where he introduces himself in a really awkward way. It comes off stupid and he beats himself up, but he sees that the store's hiring for Christmas, and so this is like one kind of thing that lines up with the original movie is he gets a job in the store.
I could be wrong, but I feel like it was probably the same name as the store from the original.
I don't remember that, but yeah, that's fair.
Because I think it was like something like, was it like Ira's or Ida's Antiques? And then I feel like, that might be the same name from the original. Could be wrong, but I thought it was.
It doesn't really, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But like, he gets a job there, but then everything about it, though, plays out very differently, where, yeah, there's this kind of romantic element of him clearly being attracted to her and trying to interact with her, it being a little bit weird. Although, one of my favorite things about the movie, though, and one of the other things that really sold me on the movie as it was playing out, is that she kind of develops quite a bit as a character as well, because at first she's just the attractive woman the main guy's into, right? And she's obviously weirded out by him because he's a bit odd. But then when he's working there and she has to kind of interact with him a bit more, and she's sort of like getting to know him, she out of nowhere says something about, oh, you're not a serial killer, are you? And he's like, what? No, me? Never. And she's like, oh, that's a shame. I'd have a lot of questions to ask. I'm into true crime. And I just sort of like, oh, that's a funny joke because people are into true crime now. But it ends up being kind of a scene because she gets really pissed off when she drops a bauble, right? It drops and smashes, and she gets pissed off and she swears, and it actually scares a customer out of the store. And Billy's like, "It's okay, I'll go get a broom." It's funny because he's kind of freaked out, and I'm like, "You're the serial killer, dude. Why are you freaked out at her having a little thing?" And it's like, but it's setting something up because the scene that really sold me on her as a character is when we go to the ice rink. Right? Because she is like, hey, I need to take my nephew to his hockey practice, right? My sister had to go to work or whatever. And she's like, do you want to come? And it's kind of like a big moment for him because she's basically asking him on a kind of date. And he's like, yeah, I'll come to that. So they go to the hockey thing and they're making the small talk. It also introduces another character here that's going to be relevant in a later scene, but we'll talk about her later. But the big thing in this scene is that her nephew starts getting bullied by two of the kids who are kind of shoving him against the wall and kind of saying mean things to him. And she just loses her shit, storms out onto the ice, pulls them away, which would be one thing, but then she straight up she grabs someone else's hockey stick and starts tripping them up and hitting them. And I'm like, this woman's beating the shit out of two kids. And I'm like, and there's a little moment in my brain where, like, first of all, this makes her far more interesting. And secondly, I was like, do you know what? All this stuff Charlie keeps saying in his head to Billy about, like, oh, you can never tell her what you are. I'm like, I don't know. This woman might be the perfect woman for him, the way she's acted out here. She might be the perfect match.
Yeah. I thought this was great. I mean, this is like such a good character development scene. And it is funny that, in a movie where a guy dressed up like Santa and kills like tons of people, the actually like probably most shocking scene is like a completely different character.
Yeah, the love interest is the one who
yeah.
scares everyone.
But I mean, in a weird way though, like I kind of get it, because there are definitely times like as a parent where you see like, you know, someone will do something to your kid and you're kind of like looking around and it's like, all right, is someone's parent gonna like step in or do something? Like, you know, I shouldn't have to, you know, discipline these other kids. And obviously she takes it to an extreme, but yeah, I was actually like weirdly laughing at this. Yeah,
Oh,
but
no,
it's
it
kind
is
of
funny.
shocking.
It's absolutely funny. I was in hysterics watching her beat the crap out of these two kids with a hockey stick. Yeah, fast forward to 2 weeks from now, Tim's in the newspaper. He's doing elbow drops on 5-year-olds who've been mean to his son.
But no, I mean, it's great. And then, yeah, like you said, like the best part about it is like, you know, they're already having like a little romantic thing, but you know, you're kind of thinking like, well, it'll never, you know, it can never be because she's like a normal person. He's a serial killer. But then after this scene, you're like, oh, actually, yeah, they would probably work out pretty well together.
Yeah, maybe she
And
won't
then,
be completely against it. Because that's the thing, like, when it starts doing the whole him, like, trying to be in the store and be around her, and he's awkwardly trying to, like, talk to her. Like, I was kind of enjoying it well enough for the body language and, like, his, like, the performance, but I was also thinking, oh, we're doing the he wants to date someone, but he can never really go through with it because of what he is. But this scene completely flips that, because I'm like, okay, I'm actually curious to see how she's going to react now.
and it's kind of funny because again, like it really does remind me of, you know, him in Halloween Ends, because like both roles, it's like, all right, he's this guy that's like kind of being, well, like, I mean, not kind of, but like, you know, being tempted by like this other kind of killer into becoming a killer himself, but also like pursuing this romance, you know, with this woman. So it's, I mean, I like him in both movies, but it's just funny how much of it like kind of overlaps.
I was really looking for a hair in my mouth there, and I finally got
that,
it.
yeah.
I finally got it, but it was taking some time. Like, I could feel it swirling around on my gums.
It's one of the most annoying, yeah, feelings. Like the worst is if you get one of those like really long like strands from your mustache that kind of like just starts like seeping in.
Anyway, so no, I mean, I think this really like made their relationship and like the will they want they far more interesting, and it completely like keeps adding to it as well, because like because we cut to like the police station and she's like sitting in the interrogation room, and then like in comes this cop. Now we've been seeing she's been on her phone like throughout the movie ignoring calls from someone named Max, and this cop comes in. And he stands there, and everything's like I don't know, no interrogation room in the world would be this poorly lit, but who cares? It's dramatic. It's super super dark, and he's standing there, and she's like, "Max, what are you doing here?" It's like, "You're lucky. I made sure the other parents wouldn't press charges, because if they did what you said they did, then they're happy their boys learned a lot." I'm like, "What, really? That doesn't sound like parents I've ever heard of, but all right." And it's, you know, it's got this sort of tone to it where he's like, he's done her a favor as a police officer, and he's like, "I miss you," and she's like really standoffish, and then she just kind of blurts out at one point like why they broke up and why she's been ignoring him. She's just straight up says, "You punched me in the face," and I'm like, oh, okay, so this guy's got it coming then. I'm looking forward to his murder later in the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where it does that thing where it teases, where as she's leaving and she's walking off with her dad, who's like the store manager, who, you know, I haven't mentioned him yet, but he's there. He's like a recurring character, and
He's good.
Yeah, and Billy's there, and they're all walking off together. The cop Max is like watching from the corner, and this is the first time where Charlie's like, "I sense something. Look over there." But by the time he does, like, you know, the cop's already slipped away, and it's like, something's afoot here. But it's like oh, that's an interesting tease. We're going to keep teasing this idea, because I think the obvious thing most movies would do is to have like an awkward scene here where Max like comes up and like gets a little bit like passive aggressive about like, "Oh, so who are you? How long have you been in town? You seem suspicious," or whatever.
I think like one of the like best things I can say for the movie is it just really knows like when to like focus on stuff and like when to kind of like fall back. Like it just does a good job of like not overdoing things, or, you know, not always like being like too in your face, or like if it does, you know, do something like very big and over the top, like the, set piece that we're gonna get to, like it does it well, but it also knows like for like other scenes that like it doesn't need to just be in your face or over explaining stuff I think a good thing is like with the the voice of that's in his head. Like at first I was kind of worried that they're gonna overdo it, and it's like, all right, is this gonna be a thing that's like constantly going and constantly making jokes and stuff? But like they know just like the right times when to like sprinkle it in to a point where it's like, oh, okay, I actually like this dynamic, and I like the like kind of weird relationship between them.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing as well that it's usually advancing the character of the story whenever he speaks. And
right, yeah.
Often, like, for example, late in the movie when he says something like, I think you found a good one here in reference to Pamela, it kind of sticks out because the entire first act, he's like saying, don't bother, this is not worth the time. You can't ever be with someone, Billy. Like, don't try it. But then at a certain point, he's like, you know what? I've made a mistake. So it feels like things have changed, and him admitting that is kind of like advancing it. So by the time we get to this police station bit, we've already passed the night where he's went and killed one guy. This old guy comes out of the store, and it looked like he did it out of jealousy because he was like sort of like kind of flirting with Pam, even though he's like 30 years older than her. So it felt like a petty thing, which is why that even though for the next little bit it seems like he's going after bad people, like in my head I kept thinking, but that first old guy was like just a lonely old man. Like, why did we kill him? But obviously they do reveal later on that he was up to something. So yes, at the ice rink, we met this older lady who's yelling at the players of the ref, and she talks to Billy a little bit. Billy goes out to this party that she's throwing, right? That's out in this, isolated location, this warehouse or farmhouse or whatever it is.
Sorry, just real quick. I was curious what you thought of, like, whenever he finds the person that he's going to kill, they do this, like, big flashy, like, screen where, like, it focuses on the person, then it goes all red and it says, like, kill, blah, 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 whoever their name is or whatever. I was curious if you like that little bit, or if it's like, it's like a little too flashy.
I think I liked it the more it went on, because it's sort of this sort of thing where it builds you up to expect it, where you kind of get excited later on when it does it. So it's, like the first time it's kind of, oh, that's a weird choice. But by the time you get to the end of the movie, especially since, we're in spoilers, so once it's become a new killer, and it flashes red and says kill Max, I'm like, yeah, let's effing go. So it kind of like, it sets it up so you feel something for it later, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, I kind of was the same way. Like the first time it popped up, I was like, it seems like a little unnecessary. Like, are you just trying to be like kind of cool, like different or whatever? But then once it actually becomes like, something that you can play with it, and it felt a bit more fun. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm into it by the end.
Yeah, it won me over. I guess. So we go out to this farmhouse, and there's a bouncer at the door who checks Billy out, and he's dressed as Santa at this point. He walks in, and everyone else is dressed as Santa. So it's a party where everyone came dressed as Santa in some way or another, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? And then the camera spins round and reveals something else. Giant swastikas on the wall, and it turns out that this is a very white supremacist Christmas party, and Delphine was the name of the older lady. She's like the ringleader, and she's making a speech about all that, and they're all doing the hails and whatnot. And there's a great moment where Billy is looking really angry, and he walks out of the building, he goes to his car, and he gets his axe out. And a couple of things here. Charlie says, okay, so what are you going to do? Wait for her to go to the bathroom so you can kill her, wait for this? And then he's like, no, they all die. And he's like, no, that's reckless, Billy. That's reckless. He's like, no, they all die. And he's like, at least take a gun. And then he's like, guns are for pussies. and then we get that that shot. Well, he kills the bouncer first, but we get that shot where he goes in the building, and no one knows it was a danger yet, but he just shuts the door. So this is the shot's looking at his face as the door shuts, and then he locks it, and it's like, okay, they're all trapped in there with him now. So now he just starts swinging his axe. So he spends 10 minutes killing a bunch of Nazis. So what's not to love?
So obviously this is the what I was referring to that got kind of spoiled, which I mean, again, all it was like I saw like headlines that are saying like watched the viral clip where Santa murders like 45 Nazis or whatever. So again, like it's not like it like gave a ton away, but it's just enough where like I once he starts going, I was like, all right, well this must be the scene where he kills all the Nazis. But I mean, I still love the scene, like it's great. But yeah, it would have been nicer to have that little reveal.
Because the reveal was very effective for me. Because like, see when it revealed what was on the walls, I like it was like, oh shit! Like I did not see it coming. It came out of nowhere, and then it was like the realization of, oh, I'm going to get to watch him kill all these people, and that was like really satisfying.
Yeah, I mean it's great. Like I maybe it's easy to say, but yeah, I'm always here for any time someone just kills a bunch of Nazis.
Yep.
I mean, that in itself is pretty fun. And then, I mean, just throwing on top the, guns are for pussies line is like just like an extra little like cherry on the cake where it's like, okay, like, I don't know. I'm curious. I'm sure there's probably people that are going to be like, oh, that's trying to get political or pandering or whatever. But I mean, who cares? Like, there's no subtlety like anymore. Like, it's just like tons of fun. Like, getting to see like awful people just get what's coming to them.
And I think that adds into the schlocky quality of it, is that it's not like trying to hide anything in the subtext. It's just kind of like, like this is straight up what it is. He's saying what he feels, and he's just going to go do it. And then obviously the tail end of this is that Delphine does pull out an Uzi and tries to shoot him, and she actually ends up killing like at least a handful of her own people, but trying to hit him. And then she runs away and gets on a snowmobile, and Charlie's like, don't follow her, I know where she's going to go. And this is actually how we redo the famous bit in the original, where it's a kid sledding in the original movie, I think, but
right, yeah.
Where Billy hides behind a tree with his axe, and she's like speeding in the snowmobile, and he just steps out, and this is the one time in the movie where he actually says punish, and he comes out and he chops off her head, although not at the neck, through the mouth. So when her head lands, it's just the upper, the skull basically, the jaw is missing. So fun.
No complaints. It's just a very fun scene.
Yeah, I don't know if actually, I'm trying to remember whose face do we see get bashed in quite heavily, where you actually see a lot of detail in it. I can't remember who it was specifically. I don't know if it was at this party, or if it was, maybe it was the old guy, but it wasn't until we saw it again later on when we got more of it, maybe. But because the first time we see the old guy get killed, it's quick. Oh, it's just an axe to the head. That's right. Memory's failing me, but. Regardless, this and the face bashing, I know the two scenes that stuck out as being gory, whereas everything else felt kind of like, there's a bit of blood splatter, there's a quick cut after a swing of the axe or whatever, nothing too, over the top.
I'd say maybe the other big notable one, which again is another homage to the original, is when they're doing the flashback to him in the orphanage and he kills
the reindeer. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's not an orphanage in this case. It's a foster. It's just a house. It's a foster
home, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah, and again, that's like, I mean, it's a cool scene, like seeing someone get impaled on the antlers, but I don't think I remember it being like particularly gory though.
It's fine for what it is. Yeah, it's more about just they set up how awful the woman is in the flashback, because she's drugging the kids and just sort of doing what she's doing to get the government paychecks or whatever. So. Yeah, it's more just about like the satisfaction, but it's also about the idea that he's like, it's the first time he ever killed someone, so he's really shit at it, and he's like failing, and she's kicking the crap out of him. So he kind of just gets lucky and pushes her onto this deer that's kind of like sticking off the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to like constantly compare things to like comic books and superheroes, but like in a lot of ways it does kind of feel like a superhero movie. Like you have this kind of like a origin story, and then like he's not very good at it at first, and then like overcomes it, and then you just get to enjoy like the rest of the movie. He's just like killing awful people.
Yeah, although it doesn't show you in that order though. We don't get this backstory until this is not until he's later. Telling Pam like right towards the end of the movie. But big sequence, all good fun. He does get beat up a bit badly here because he took a bullet and he got stabbed, so he's patching himself up and whatnot. But when he goes into work the next day though, he goes in and they're like, hey, that old guy's not showing up. We don't know where he is. He was supposed to be Santa for all the kids. Can you do it, Billy? And So in the original movie, the whole thing is that, oh, he's really traumatized, and then it's putting on the Santa suit that turns him into a killer. Here, he still get a problem with it, but it's flipped into Charlie saying to him, "Hey, you put that suit on, you'll go into kill mode. We cannot do that. That's sacred. We can't just have you wearing that willy nilly." He agrees to it though, because Pam really wants him to, and he's like happy to please her. But yeah, it basically, he's so like in shock sitting there with the kid on his lap that Charlie basically just has to like voice everything to him. He's like, all right, ask her name, say if she's been good or not, what do you want for Christmas. Like, he's just talking him through it the whole time.
This was another scene I actually thought was like surprisingly funny, like just seeing like this very sweet innocent kid like talking to him, and then when it keeps cutting to like his hand like taking out like a switchblade or it was a box cutter or whatever, and just like him very nervously being like, oh, like I think the kid says something like, you know, like, oh, like I did one bad thing this year or something. He's like, oh yeah, like, yeah, he's like starting to lose it.
But I apologized to my mom. I was very sorry. And this is actually the second time where Max the cop is sort of sneaking around, and it's like Charlie's like, hey, I sense something, look over there. And it's also worth mentioning at this point that throughout the movie we've been seeing these missing posters for kids, like there's kids going missing in the area, so that's something that's going to, you know, come up as well. But no, we was digging all this, and it's actually after this where Pam just straight up goes to kiss him, and they end up frolicking in the back room. Now they did gloss over though, because I have to assume she at least noticed either the stab wound or the bullet wound and maybe questioned where they were, but I guess she was too caught up in the moment of the passion to think about it.
Like, I remember like when he comes in that day, she's like, oh my god, what happened to your eye? And then like, I don't even think he even gave her like any like excuses. Just like, oh
yeah. There's also police that come to question everyone because the old guy's been found dead, but of course they also find out that the guy's wife was wrapped up in the basement and had been dead for years. So this guy had killed his wife, so now he was on the naughty list. He was, you know, Santa was watching. he got punished. So yeah. So at this point in the movie, it's like, okay, we've set this guy up as an anti-hero. He is like going after very bad people, but now he's distracted because he's in love, and Charlie's like, hey, we need to go kill someone. It's the 23rd, damn it, we need to go and kill someone for today. And he's like, no, I'm staying with her. So he ends up like not killing anyone. And next day, Charlie like thinks, well, let's see what happened since you didn't kill someone. Like, you know, another kid went missing, and he's like, well, that's not necessarily related. And he's like, yeah, probably not. But then again, obviously the big plot kind of thrust at that point though, once we're in this chunk of the movie, is that Pam's dad gets killed. He actually sees one of the kidnapped kids in the back of a van, tries to help, and the killer, who wears a Santa mask just to add some insult to injury, kills him. And this sort of leads to all that, and Pam's obviously devastated. There's all this like sad stuff going on, and she's like crying in his arms, saying she wishes she could watch whoever did this get chopped into pieces very slowly. And this is like Billy's chance to be like, well, just so happens, Pam, I might be able to make that happen. That's kind of my area of expertise. And I think it's interesting though, because like, up until this point in the movie, it's all just been the Charlie superpower that's kind of like set him onto the culprits. But with this particular thing, he's having to actually look at the security footage and like almost investigate it a little bit. So we have to try and figure out who these bad guys are. Well, it's just bad guy at this point, but it turns out to be like a group of them. So that's why I'm saying plural. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're going into the third act. But he straight up says, what if I can make that dream come true? And that kind of catapults us into like, you know, yeah, I kill bad people. There's Charlie in my head. He explains his backstory with his parents, how this entity transferred from the old Santa killer to him, and how he's been doing this for about 10 years now. And it's like, okay. I'm like, what are you doing from January to November? I guess you're just like chilling with a normal job for 11 months before you have to move on and get to killing.
Well, I forget when it is. What was it? Maybe at this point where I think they show a flashback of him like working in a kitchen or something, and you get like a little callback to the garbage day, of course, from the second movie.
Yes. He's working in the back of a kitchen, and whoever runs it comes out and says, "Hey, Billy, it's garbage day." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, very cute. All right, we did a garbage day reference."
Yeah. Like I'm usually not super into like little Easter eggs or callbacks or whatever, but this was like fine enough where I was like, all right, that's it's cute.
It's one, like they get their one, and it's not too forced. And obviously, this little flashback section, as he's describing that he would go around doing this, we get a little montage of him killing other people. You know, like he's chasing after like a teenager at one point with a chainsaw. He's chasing after someone else. You know, it's just fun little bits kind of sprinkled in of him being like a maniac. I mean, at least visually anyway. That's that. And, you know, at this point, we're kind of building up to the end of the movie. But, you know, obviously Charlie's kind of changed his tune a little bit here. If at one point when he's talking to her in the car, and she's like, "So you're a serial killer. How many people have you killed?" He's like, "I've stopped counting." I got lots. But she says she says something, and then Charlie sort of says, "Oh, I like this one. I think she's a keeper." And then Billy turns to her and goes, "Oh, Charlie said he likes you." And she's like, "Ah." Like she's still not sure how to take that part of it. She's still not necessarily completely on board, but clearly she's still like so caught up in the emotions of her dad being killed that she's willing to go for the ride. Literally, in this case, she's in the car on the way to potentially solving the crime.
Not like it's like a big complaint or anything, but yeah, one thing was like I couldn't help but wonder, like, okay, yeah, it does seem like you have to kill a lot of people, because like, you know, 25 people, you know, in 1 month, presumably you're not like, you know, traveling that much, because you have to you know, you can only go like so far each day, and you know, and you're on like a time limit to find someone.
Not that it's much of a difference, but it would be 24, I think, because you don't open an advent calendar on Christmas Day. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But still, that's like a lot of people, like, especially if like you're in kind of one like secluded area, you know, for most of the time.
And then
so,
sometimes sometimes he stumbles into a party and kills like a whole like couple dozen in one go.
So I mean, obviously by this point in the movie, you know, it's already, you know, revealed itself to be like, you know, kind of schlocky and stuff. So it's not like a issue or anything, but it's just funny, like something I was thinking of, like yeah, that is a lot of people.
Yeah, and obviously there's a heroic element to this, because like the kid who was just kidnapped might still be alive, and you know they actually end up at the tree place, because this is the guy that he killed at the start of the movie was actually one of the kidnappers, but obviously there was at least another one who's out here, and they go into the trailer that runs this place, and there's like a basement that's got a ball pit in it, or I should say the entire basement's a ball pit, right? And the kids are lying in the balls, so she jumps down and says, "Oh, there's a kid down here," and they start taking the kids out. Some of them are still alive, and they're like trying to like get them back up, but you know, a bad guy shows up, and we get a bit of a fight here. And they do like a creepy bit where the Santa, the bad guy Santa that is with the Santa mask, he ends up in the ball pit with Pam, and like jumps out at her at one point, but then when the lights go out or whatever, like the Santa has like grabbed her and pulled her under the balls, so Billy has to go down there and he can't see anything, but Charlie's saying, "No, she's in the ball pit, she's under the balls with this bad guy, and you're going to have to trust me, and I'll tell you where to swing the axe." And it's like, okay. So I thought it was an interesting little bit, like as a set piece goes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Billy basically like stays and stabs the guy a bunch, but the guy also stabs him a bunch. So Billy's like, you know, minutes are numbered here. He's like bleeding out, and at this point, because he saved Pam's life and he's helped save the kids, like Pamela's, you know, despite his past and the Charlie talk, she's kind of on board with him. But at this point, Officer Max has shown up. Basically, it's kind of revealed here that he's one of the well, actually, at first he kills Billy. Actually, Billy stumbles out. Max is standing there with the gun and just opens fire. You know, no warning, no real, like, you know, it's kind of clear, like, hey, this is, I mean, I think at first I was like, oh, this is just out of like jealousy because this is the new boyfriend. He's just that toxic prick. But then obviously you find out he's also part of this kidnapping scheme. So like, I guess this was also about covering his tracks. But Pamela comes out as Billy's dying, and she touches his hand, and the entity transfers from him to her. And when she looks up, because they've set up this whole thing where whenever he looks at someone, Charlie can see if they've done bad things. So he gets flashes of red of whatever bad stuff they've done. So she looks over at Max and she sees that he's part of the kidnappers. And that's when it comes up, kill Max. So the end of the movie's her, just axing him like repeatedly in the back until he's dead. And then we hear Billy's voice in her head rather than Charlie's voice. And he's like, hey, are you ready to do this now? And she smiles all covered in blood, and that's how the movie ends. It's like, hey, a new killer has been born. She's now the Santa killer of vengeance.
Yeah, and it's all just like set up really well, because like, if we didn't like have as much characterization from her, or if she was just kind of like, the damsel in distress girlfriend or whatever, then like, yeah, you wouldn't care as much when the power passes to her. But because we've like, I don't know, gotten to know her, and that we've seen, this side of her where, she does have like that kind of moral code and sense of justice that, gets like a bit too violent, but like, yeah, like it's like, oh no, she's like a good candidate for this. And then, we're sad to see Billy go, but then, the fact that like he lives on, with her, and it's like a part of her, it's like, that's kind of nice.
Yeah, I think the whole thing with Max is a really good part of it as well, because like, one, you've got the suspense building of like Billy never seeing him, so like Charlie never gets that lock on, like we know exactly what he is and what he's done. So you've got that teasing, but I think what I like about it is that we especially hate him now because he's killed Billy, right? It feels like the villain got away with something, but it actually works in the end because she's the one who's been previously victimized by this guy. She's the one with the history with him and get punched in the face. And yeah, that scene in I mean, we kind of glossed over part of it actually, is that scene in the interrogation room, after they have their interaction, he just like puts his hands on her shoulder and like smells her hair and says, I miss you, but like it's really awkward and uncomfortable, and she's sort of quivering in the chair. And it particularly stands out because we just saw her be so tough. Admittedly, it's easy to be tough when you're beating up kids, but we've seen how like angry and like strong kind of willed she is, and to see her kind of like put in that position where she's so scared and quivering in fear from this toxic asshole really puts in perspective how scary it is for her. So having her be the one to see it and her be the one to get to kill him, it's like a really well set up payoff, because it's one, it's like giving the new person someone to kill. It's two, saving it for someone where it's a bit more personal for them to kill them. If Billy had done it, okay, it would have worked, it'd have been fine. But it's more satisfying having her do it. Is it kind of her initiation kill, if you will?
Oh, yeah.
So it kind of works on a few levels, actually, this ending. Between the setting up her as the passing of the torch, setting up Max as this big bad, and then setting up their history so it's more personal for her to kill Max in the first place.
Yeah, like I think just, as film nerds and people that have like, watched thousands of movies at this point, like you get like an appreciation for like when something's just like really well done, and just it's just like hitting all these points that like I didn't expect it to hit, where it's like, yeah, you could have just made a schlocky, over the top sleazy Santa killer movie, which is basically what the original one is, and that's fun.
And I wouldn't have minded, like if they had just done a good one of that, I'd have been fine with it. I think this is still kind of schlocky in a lot of ways. It's still not trying to take itself too seriously, but it's doing something a little bit different. And funnily enough, a lot like Halloween Ends, I was kind of appreciating its different take on what it was doing. It's actually kind of wild, but between comparing that element to that, and obviously we've got the actor from it, but even just the idea that he's kind of in like a sort of a romance story that's actually quite compelling is also very similar to that movie in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, weird.
like I don't know. Sometimes it's just like as simple as like you know what you're setting stuff up and you're actually like paying it off on a level that's satisfying. Like like there weren't like a ton of plot holes or things that didn't make sense or like oh you're just doing that for like a cheap laugh or whatever. Like it's like oh like everything feels like earned and justified in this, which yeah like not a lot of movies can pull that off or or even try to do something like that. So it's just like again, I'm not trying to say like, oh, this is like my movie of the year or anything, but I was just like, I was surprised that yeah, it was doing more than I guess I had thought it would, and
Yeah, although
it does it pretty well.
You just said there was no plot holes. You should never say that. People will find plot holes. Everything has plot holes. Even the best movie ever made has plot holes. It's a fallacy to even suggest such a thing. But I know what you mean. There's nothing glaring in your face that's taking you out of the experience. I know what you mean.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there's always like little things that you can nitpick. Like I was talking before about the whole advent calendar thing. But again, like stuff like that, it's not to a degree that bothers you or even when there is stuff like that, it's like, if the rest of the movie is firing on all cylinders, you can, let it go. So, yeah.
Yeah. It does surprising, interesting things where it feels like it's not just doing what I thought it was going to. And if it had done what I thought it was going to do well, I'd have still been into it. And I think it's actually lacking a little bit in doing that side of it, but it's doing its own thing in a very interesting way where I was actually... By the time we got past the halfway point of this movie, I was actually quite compelled on him picking his victims, right? I was compelled in his relationship with Pam and her character on her own as just kind of this temper she has and like what she was getting into. I was actually finding myself enjoying it. And I actually cared a little bit when her dad died because they set up her dad as this nice guy who cracks some jokes and seemed to care about his daughter, but also was nice to Billy. Like I was like, I actually care that he's dead. It was quite brutal when he just got shot in the back of the head.
Yeah, especially because like he's trying to do the right thing. He's not like yeah. No, it's surprisingly well done.
Well, it's a good movie. I'm into it. It's I also had the start as it was starting because it opens up in some Christmas imagery of like some Santa ornaments or whatever as the titles are coming up, and I was sitting thinking, oh, this is weird. Like last year we had Terrifier 3, this year we've got this. Like I can't believe I've had a big Christmas horror movie to go see in the theaters 2 years in a row. So I'm hoping next year, I don't know what it will be, but I'm hoping next year they have something for me.
Yeah, they'd be stupid not to because I feel like obviously you don't want to like overload and have like 10 new horror movies in December, but I feel like if obviously like horror people go out to these things, so I feel like it pays off to always have at least like one big one.
Well, not today in my showing. I was literally the only person in the theater, but
yeah, I mean, again, I was going like it was a 10 o'clock showing for me, but it was the opening day for it, and there's probably maybe 4 or 5 other people there, but I also don't think this is getting like a huge release because like I mean it's clearly in theaters, which is great, but yeah, like it wasn't in the one that theater that's like closest to me, so
yeah
but I keep saying surprising a lot because I guess going into it I just hadn't really heard much about it, but I think afterwards I did start seeing like not like a ton of people are talking about it, but I feel like if I did see it somewhere, like people were kind of like, oh no, this is actually getting some good buzz. So I don't know if it's huge, but hopefully it gets like a little bit of a word of mouth thing.
I mean, it's definitely in that cult following kind of level for sure. I think it's the sort of thing where we weren't even sure if we were going to be able to do it this year, just purely because I didn't know if I was going to have access to it. Like I didn't know if it was going to be in theaters here. And it wasn't until like a week or two before it came out where it finally became clear, oh no, it's got show times, it's going to be a thing. Because it was on that brink of like, okay, it's got a limited release, but does my theater get limited releases? I think it does sometimes, but not always. And if it does, like how many showtimes? Like it was always kind of on that brink of like not being sure if they were going to put it out. But luckily, Studio Canal got the international rights and have put it out in a bunch of places.
It's probably the nice. There's a nice little time frame where it's like, well, Zootopia's been out for a little bit, so that's kind of dying down, and Avatar's not here yet, so we have a little window where we can squeeze something in.
To be fair, I don't think there's any crossover in Zootopia and Silent Night Deadly Night audience members.
That's fair.
So I think this had some interesting. It was doing its own thing. It definitely paid homage to a few scenes here or there. Like, the scene with the old folks' home is definitely calling back to how the original movie started. There's a couple of moments or kills that are from the original, but by and large, it's doing its very much own thing where Santa Killer is the hero. He is, or the anti-hero. Mm-hmm. And that means we get to enjoy who he's going after and root for him a little bit. And the whole passing of the torch thing's also kind of wild, but, it made it feel unique and a little bit different, and that was into it. So, yeah. I hope it does well enough to get another one. And
honestly, yeah. I mean, especially with the way it ends, like, I could very easily see, following Pammy on her adventures.
And we'd still have Billy's voice. Like, he'd still be talking to her in his head. Or in her head, rather, sorry. I'd be down for more. I don't know how well it has to do to get another one, but I mean, this is, Bloody Disgusting and a couple other plays. Like, does it have to be any more successful than, say, like Terrifier 2 to get a sequel? I don't know, even if it needs to be that successful. But because I don't imagine this was a super big budget for whatever it was. So
yeah, I'm assuming not, but I did think it looked pretty good for what I'm assuming was probably a pretty small budget.
All right, Tim, what you rating Silent Night Deadly Night?
I'm gonna give it a pretty good score. I mean, it's I thought it was fun. Again, like, I got won over. I got into the characters. I thought it was fun. I do agree with you. Maybe the kills could have been, they're not bad, but yeah, maybe like a touch more gore or something here and there. But no, I mean, it's still fun overall. I think it might be a little conservative and not go like amazingly high and do like an 8 or something. So, but I might just go just like a smidge down, do like a 7.5. Yeah, I mean, I really don't have like too many complaints. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in a similar range. I think I was thinking 7 most of the day, but I could be talked into a 7.5, I think. It is really just like, the kills being a bit maybe better, I think would elevate it but I think for what this is, it's punching a fair bit above its weight, because I was into the characters, I was into what it was doing, and various elements actually felt quite effective by the end, and I had a good time. I left with a smile on my face, because I was like, hey, that was a fun ending, and like they've left it in a place where it would be interesting for a sequel. So yeah, I'll agree with 7.5. Let's make it unanimous. All right, there you go. Silent Night Deadly Night in the books. So yeah, I shall tell you what's coming next time then on the show, shall I? Next week will not be a movie. Next week we're doing something we've not done before, which is we're going to do a end of year special. Now, this is not going to be a top 10 of the year, because that'll come in like maybe March, once we've been able to catch up on some of the other things that we've not gotten to yet, for one reason or the other. But this will be more like end of year kind of award show, if you will, of all the things we did in 2025, including old movies, not just movies that came out in 2025. So, we'll go through a bunch of categories. There'll be a form out. But in fact, by the time this goes out, it will be out for the audience to pick their favorite episode of the year and things like that. So we can talk about that a little bit on the show. So yeah, we'll have a bunch of categories. It'll just be kind of a celebration of the year and talking about all the things we watched this year. Again, both new and old. So hopefully that sounds like fun, and we can dive into that next week. And this is something we're doing on the other shows as well. So on the Sci-Fi Podcast, Atomic Cinema Experiment with David, as well as Collector's Cut, we're going to do end of year wrap ups as well. So yeah, should be fun. So we'll see for that next week on the show. Which, if I'm right in saying, that will come out on Christmas Day, actually. So, festive treat for everyone. But yeah, then we're back to movies, obviously, after that, and still plenty to do there. There's never a shortage of horror movies, but obviously, we would tell you about Patreon, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, or YouTube membership, because you can get access to the bonus episodes there, which are, most months we'll do a new one. There's a back catalogue now of about 65 episodes, if you want to check those out and help keep the show coming. We also do the Even More streams, which are usually shorter segments, but sometimes, we'll do like a beefy one. In fact, we'll probably be doing a beefy one soon. We usually do the year preview, where we'll go through all the horror movies that we have dates for the year and give our hopes, thoughts, predictions, miseries, whatever it is.
Which I feel like we usually have like a little bit of leeway time for that, but when I saw this movie, I saw so many trailers of new big movies, and they're all coming out in January. I was like, well, shit, like we should probably get our 2026 preview episode up before these things actually start coming out.
We'll talk about that. Yeah, we'll try and maybe record that before the end of the month, so that it's not like behind by the time it comes out. But yeah, so if that all sounds like fun, I can go get access to that stuff and have a look see. But that's the show, everyone. That has been Screams After Midnight. Thank you very much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Have a nice Christmas, which is obviously, like I said, it's next week. This is exactly 1 week till Christmas when this goes out. So thank you for joining us. We do appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, and we will see you next time.